Hello, I'm Carla Lima, and today I will discuss about a subject not widely discussed but extremely important. It is about emotional issues that affect singing, especially symptoms of trauma. I will share what I have learned from my personal experience, my research, and my background in speech therapy and public health. Many aspects that I will talk here does not apply only for people with symptoms of trauma, but the characteristics will be much more intense in cases of trauma. If my content is interesting for you, consider subscribe and share the video with others. So first, let's clarify what I mean as trauma. For trauma, I mean a nervous system response, which I call symptoms, to a single event or ongoing situation of intense stress that exceeds the person's ability to cope. I will give you an example. An abused child experiencing a situation that threatens her or his integrity and is unable to escape or fight back, becomes overwhelmed by the situation, is too much for the child. So the autonomic nervous system is unable to restore balance and gets stuck in that state. This leads to symptoms of trauma, such as anxiety, fear, shame, feelings of helplessness, gastrointestinal issues, chronic muscular tension, restricted breathing, and hypersensitivity to anything reminiscent of the traumatic situation. Also, the sense of self or identity can be damaged. In case of chronic trauma, especially if it happens in early childhood, people can even confuse the symptoms or with characteristics of themselves because this is the normal they have always known. Moreover, the lack of awareness about trauma in the communities and the normalization of abusive situations can increase the loneliness and inadequacy of people in trauma stage. When related to singing, trauma symptoms can impact breath, muscle tone, expression of feelings, and confidence to sing in front of others, and cause extreme anxiety before a presentation or audition. I will describe in a practical way how the symptoms of trauma can interfere with singing. As I said, these characteristics are not only present in people with history of trauma, but will be much more intense if related with trauma. First, training, even alone, can be challenging, arouse fear, panic, and thought patterns that relate to childhood dynamics or past experiences. Anxiety or panic to sing in front of others or even to record alone. The quality of singing be much better during rehearsal than recording or presentation, leading to a feelings of frustration because I know I can do it, but I could not do it in front of a camera, the other person, or the public. Progress in singing is not straight linear. The result can be very good one day and really bad in the next, with the same material. Depends on the emotional state and the underlying tension. Improving singing can be scary because it means be deeply in touch with one's own body and feelings which can trigger the traumatic responses. Success can be scary because it means being in the spotlight, which also can trigger the traumatic responses. Chronic respiratory constriction that becomes even more intense due to the tension caused by singing anxiety. Anticipating and blocking oneself before a challenging part of a song or high notes. And in general, the challenging parts include high notes. The ways which a person can block their singing is psychologically, emotionally, and through muscular tensions. So breathing becomes more restricted by this kind of anxiety. Difficulty is screaming fully. This is so important. This is so important. This was one of the first signs that I realized in myself when I started to practice singing seriously. I found that I had difficulty to scream fully, and it was related with throat constriction from being silenced as a child. My scream in that time was not from the gut, primal, with all my resonance, as a healthy scream is. This is directly related with having your full voice. Last but not least, chronic throat constriction, a result of stored or repressed feelings such as fear, rage, sadness that wants to come out and was not allowed. It is important to mention that singing can awaken feelings and memories, and sometimes it can be difficult to cope. So it is important to have patience and work with people who have this awareness. If you find yourself with these characteristics, it is important to check the influence of emotional issues in your singing. Maybe traumatic, maybe not, but it's important to be aware of how deep is the influence of the emotional aspect in voice production and singing. Now I will briefly explain how trauma influences voice. The basic pattern is stress influences breath, the rhythm, how deep is it, and so on. Long time stress is stored into the body, as happens in chronic trauma, leads to chronic difficulty in breathing deeply because of the rigidity caused by chronic muscular tension. This condition limits the use of the voice. When it is a chronic problem, the person often does not even realize it because they have always been in that pattern. In the physiology of voice production, the emotional aspect is fundamental. It controls, regulates, and influences the resultant vocal quality. Our singing and speaking voice varies in quality depends on our emotional state. It happens to everyone, but in case of those who deal with trauma symptoms or another emotional issue, it will be much more visible. Now that I have talked with you about all these points, what trauma is, the characteristics found in singing, and how trauma influences voice, I have some conclusions. First, singing is not just a physical learning. It also involves feeling safe, being able to open ourselves to our feelings and express them through music. And it implies connection with our bodies and self-acceptance. Second, in case of people with symptoms of trauma, in order to develop these skills, it is essential to be in an environment where they find acceptance and there is awareness about the influence of trauma and mental health issues in singing. Third, from my experience, I can assure you that it is possible. Open yourself up to singing, to learn to sing, even if you have symptoms of trauma. And it will be certainly part of your healing process. If more professionals, such as teachers of singing, become aware of this subject, the journey for people dealing with singing difficulties related to trauma or emotional issues tends to become easier. That's my contribution. If you are interested in learning strategies to facilitate singing training in case of trauma or emotional block to sing, let me know in the comments and I can create a video about it. For now, thank you for watching this video. Let me know in the comments if you have any doubts, questions or suggestions. I invite you again to subscribe to the channel and share the video with people who might benefit from the content. See you soon. Bye.